Hi, I'm Kema Kay. I'm a rapper, singer, songwriter, as well as an actor.
Hey, I'm Chloe Castro. I'm an R&B trap artist. I sing, I write, I rap a little bit. Yeah, and I have been making music for about 5 years, seriously, releasing it. I've been writing ever since I was about 12, though. Used to always kind of enter into like talent competitions and stuff when I was a teenager, thinking that that would be like my way into fame and getting my way in the door. So yeah, I started off actually doing that originally, doing Britain's Got Talent and all that jazz when I was about 13. And always just wrote. And then eventually I went into college when I was 16, and actually studied music, which was probably the best thing I ever done because I learned everything I know about music there, everything I know about music theory. And yeah, went into a covers band, did like, weddings and things like that. I still do weddings, not so often, but I still do weddings now. And ended up in 2016, I got to the quarterfinals of The Voice, which was amazing. It was a really mad experience. And now I've just been releasing music for the last 5 years, trying to, make it as an independent artist.
Great. So I when I started, I think I was around 14, 15. I ended up going to a youth project in the area I was brought up, which is in Stanhope Street in the West End of Newcastle. It was called
Right.
Chat Trust. So that's where I started my music career. It was just a place to be there instead of kind of being on the streets on a Friday and Saturday night. Used to write a lot. That obviously ended up in a group called Raw Flex. We were like a band, and I think we were kind of a hip hop version of GLS. You could probably
I love
call it
it.
at the time. Yeah, yeah. We literally like there was four of us, and we literally looked like GLS, but like a rap version, which was really funny.
I love it.
Yeah, used to gig a lot, and then we ended up getting a deal from a company in London. There was the four of us, but two of us didn't really want to do it, and it was like a really dodgy deal. And then there was a lot of legal issues with the youth project as well as the deal and who owned the music and the rights to it. And then that kind of split the band apart. And then from then I became a solo artist. I went to Gateshead College and I studied music technology because I was like, if I still want to do this, I need to learn how to produce my own music. I need to learn how to record. And then from there, I built
Oh,
my, yeah, yeah, I built my home studio from then. And I just started by recording other people in there as well as recording myself and just learning and building my solo career. And then from there, I started performing more as a solo artist. And then from performing, it turned into doing a bit of acting. And then fortunately, I landed a role in I, Daniel Blake, which done really well. That opened a lot of other opportunities. And then since then, I dived into live theatre as well, writing my own show about my experiences being in this country, the struggles I faced, as well as the good times, but kind of my experience growing up here. And then that was told through spoken word, rap, singing, storytelling, and all that. And yeah, now I also run workshops within schools. And then when I'm not doing that, obviously writing, I run my own studio, work on various projects, and still rap. So yeah, that's the short
amazing,
version.
amazing, amazing. Super busy, super man of all trades. Very talented.
Thank you. So do we want to go talk about the
So yeah,
pandemic?
I was thinking we could talk about how the pandemic's affected us as artists, and how different it's kind of. I think everything's changed since coronavirus came around. I think it's been a lot more difficult for independent artists to kind of break out, but at the same time, it's also given like another kind of avenue. I feel where people to break out. Social media has become so much more like prominent and important. I feel like, as social media became important and became a thing in music, it's always been like you have to have social media type thing. But I think now more than ever, I think having social media is like a real opportunity to, you know, to like actually to access people, to access audiences and stuff like that. So I think the pandemic in a way has brought round, you know, opportunities for people that wouldn't usually be able to go somewhere, you know, that wouldn't be able to. For example, I went to a seminar in lockdown, online, that would have usually been in London, that I wouldn't have usually really been able to make. But it was online because of the pandemic, and I managed to attend it. It was a 2-day full weekend thing. It was really heavy, full on, but I learned so much, and it was like I wouldn't have been able to do that otherwise. So, you know, it brought out the pros and cons of pandemic, I think, definitely. I think having no live shows, though, for people has been a real struggle, you know, the lack of income and just the lack of being able to get out there. I don't know how it's been for you, but I was just about to get out performing before lockdown. I was about to start, you know, performing regularly and doing live shows regularly, and then it all just went kaput.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think actually, obviously, you got your show as well this Saturday and the 28th at Borwick's. So
29th,
actually, yeah, I had a headline. I had to reschedule 2 headline shows at Borwick's as well because of the pandemic. Yeah. So that's what happened with me, and as well, all my performances got cancelled. All kind of plans I had to be in person, that all got cancelled, and I think that was the first time in my career and in my life where I was just like, oh, okay, what do I do now? Because I've always had like backup plans. I've always kind of knew, okay, if this doesn't work, I can go here, or I can go here. But it was like all my kind of creativity, everything was just cut off, and I had to really start to think outside the box. And I think it's really important how you're talking, you know, you're talking about the positive things about lockdown, as you're saying, you know, going to that seminar, it was in London, but whereas you're doing it online now. And it was the same thing with me. Like I had sort of auditions, say for acting roles, where I was like, okay, you can just do that now on Zoom. And I think what was nice for me is it gave me a lot of time to get a lot of writing done as well during that time. And I think, you know, just appreciating our freedom, because I feel before we were always so busy and we're always just doing this, doing that, and we're not really taking time to think about, you know, the opportunities we do have and are available to us. And it's kind of forced us to think outside the box, hasn't it?
100% forced us to, like, you know, be with ourselves, be with our own thoughts, kind of thing, you know. And like I think a lot of musicians and creative people have crawled out of the woodwork over lockdown as well. I feel like a lot of people have started music through lockdown and, like, you know, found that that's something they want to do. And a lot of musicians I already know have definitely written more and just got way more into it because they've just had more time. You know, a lot of people do, you know, do multiple jobs. They don't just do music. I'm quite fortunate personally that I just do music as, like, I write for TV and random things like that. But it's like, you know, everybody, you've got to juggle a lot of things. So I feel like, you know, having the pandemic kind of eased that a bit, didn't it? It eased that having loads of things to do and having a job to go to at the same time as right, and you had more time to just do your creative business, you know.
Yeah, and I think, you know, you talking about having to juggle so many things, I think it'd also be great to talk about what it is for like us independent artists, because I'd say me and you are very fortunate, but obviously it's not anything that was given to us. We were, you know, out there constantly grinding, looking for the next opportunity, constantly putting the work in. So the work is paying off. But say for someone who's just starting out as an independent artist and kind of there isn't that income there, because they need to obviously either have a job to sustain what they're doing. So obviously, you know, as you get older, you have to pay bills. There's other things you want as well. And I think that's where I found, okay, I love doing my career. Can I have a job where I can still chase my career as well as earn money? And I think that's a really struggle for independent artists.
Yeah.
My experience personally, what I ended up doing is getting into workshops, and it's still kind of like music. So it's like teaching kids how to rap or sing or songwrite. So it's still kind of like working on your craft, as well as earning a little bit of money. What's obviously your experience is a little bit different to mine. Kind of, what's your view on that and independent artists?
I definitely say it's not just about your music and your like craft as an artist. I think that's one thing. I think, but you're never gonna make money from that initially. So if you're looking for something that's gonna, you need to fund the releasing and the making of the music. And if you don't want to if you're like me and you don't want to go and do a normal job because you're just terrified of a 9 to 5 and you know that you're made for music, then you've got to find other ways to make money out of your music that isn't just your songs that you've written in your bedroom. It's so for example, I do work with producers who write for Sony, so we write tracks to briefs, where you basically write a song to a brief that's sorry, I'm not explaining this properly. You get a brief for a TV show or like an album that they're doing that's like directed at a TV show or an advert, and you have to write a song to that, and you get paid like a small fee up front, and then you get paid on the back end. And it's not a lot up front, and it's not a lot when you just have one, but if it all adds up, once you like get a couple of jobs and you got that PRS check, which is something I think I should mention as well, is that registering with PRS. I don't know if people know what PRS is, but it's a PRO, it's a performing rights organization, and they basically collect your royalties for your radio play and play in shops and things like that.
So, and like live performances as well, isn't it?
And live performance, yes. So yeah, get registered with them, because that's where your money comes from. But also, so yeah, finding just other things that you can make money from. So teaching music, absolutely anything, writing jingles. It's quite hard to get into. So I found it quite hard getting into writing for Sony. It's like I like had a friend who had another friend, but I've recently been just reaching out, like looking online for labels that sell music to TV, and just reaching out directly and saying, here's what I do. Send them. I made like a show reel of like the songs that I've written in the past, and then just send that over. And I haven't heard anything back yet. But you've just got to like try and like reach out and get your foot in as many doors as possible.
And I totally agree with what you're saying as well about reaching out. Even with the opportunity you had with Sony, it was a friend of a friend, and it's kind of that thing of who but as well putting yourself out there to be known by those people. Because if you never took that initial first step to put yourself out there, it's like, here, I'm Chloe, I do this, I would like to try this, then that opportunity wouldn't come knocking at your door. I feel like it's especially, even living up north, like we've had to kind of create our own thing anyways and slowly build it. It's like we're not waiting for people to come knock on our door. We need to be go down and knocking on their door as well.
100%.
And as well, talking about, finding other ways to make money. There's also opportunities with the Arts Council. Recently, I think it's still up now, it was Develop Your Creative Practice, where you could apply for like up to £10,000, where that would put you in a place where you wouldn't have to get a job. And then for the next 12 months, you could work with people to better yourself as an artist. So I'd say look on the Arts Council website with various opportunities which are there. I think what's hard for me as an artist when I was growing up as well is putting yourself out there is a very scary thing. I don't know if you agree with that, like Chloe.
Yeah, very much so.
And I think a lot of it comes from you need to have that self-belief within yourself before people start praising you for your work. It initially has to start with you. I'd also want to talk about, going through the pandemic and kind of, you know, being isolated or kind of people struggling with mental health. What's your view on that?
Yeah, I think mental health is a huge thing that especially became even more talked about, which is great since the pandemic. You know, people have been struggling with so much over this pandemic, and just being alone makes it so much harder, you know. But even just in general, before the pandemic, I think mental health can play such a big part of your life and, you know, your career, that it's the main thing that you have to look after. I think at the end of the day, in one person's life, you know, that's the main thing. Your main priority is your mental health before anything, because you need to be there and able to do things. And I've had my fair share of experience with mental health. I'm diagnosed with bipolar, so I often get like crazy episodes where I'm like, for months on end, where I'm super depressed, or for about a month I'll be super happy, over the top happy, and it's just like it completely gets in the way, you know. So some people, you know, you have to find a balance as well of, you know, things that can keep you sane while you're doing your music, you know, because for me music's like my only thing. I don't really have many hobbies, you know, like music's like it for me. That's all I do. But I know that it's actually quite unhealthy for me to, you know, just focus all on one thing. I've got to kind of like, music's my thing, but, you know, I've got to look after myself and make sure I'm ready to do the music and there to do the music. And like you say about self-belief as well, with being an artist, I think confidence is the massive thing, and that's something I learned the hard way, really. I mean, I've always been, even now I still suffer with like extreme nerves and stuff, but confidence is a massive thing. Like for me, I used to never come out of my bedroom. I used to sing in my bedroom until I went to college, and then I picked up a guitar and I went out busking in Durham, and I absolutely crapped myself. Excuse my French, but I did it. And ever since then, I've just like built up my confidence, because, you know, you've got to take rejection as well. You know, you've got to get people are horrible sometimes in life. You know, some people can be nasty, some people can be lovely. So you've got to just be prepared, and you've got to believe in what you do and know that you do it good, before, yeah, like you say, before you take it out there to the world. And when you're saying also with applying for funding and stuff like that, that's just another thing I would say is like, know your brand, know exactly what you're going to apply for, know like research all the questions, read all the guidance, you know, do as much research as you can as possible into getting that application right for you, and, you know, knowing what you actually want to do with that money, because that will really help with actually getting the funding. But there are opportunities out there that people don't know about. You know, if you same with PRS, who I'd mentioned, to register with you for your royalties, you can go on there and they have like advice for, you know, they've got places where you can go to apply to festivals for the year. They've got funding opportunities. They've got various things you can look at. So there are places like PRS where you can get things like that to, you know, help.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, you know, just adding to your point about, you know, doing music and kind of finding something outside of music, I totally agree with that, because with myself, you know, I've always been a type of person where I can't stick too much on one task, so I'll go crazy because I'm such a perfectionist with my art. And, you know, if I'm writing, I'm like, I want to constantly write, but sometimes you need to take yourself away from it. And I've found, I don't know if it's the same with you, but I've found sometimes when I've took myself away from music, I'll just be like walking in the street, or I'll be in the shower, and then like a song will pop in my head, or I'll get a certain inspiration, but it's because I allowed myself to have that time away to come back to things with a fresh mind.
100%. Back stronger.
Yeah, and that's why I'm saying it's so important to have other things outside of doing music as well, because you can sometimes get yourself in a rut. So that's why I try to do a lot of different things constantly.
Yeah.
And even touching on your point about like, you know, PRS and things like that, what's your view on, you know, artists being kind of more aware of these things? Because sometimes you don't know what you don't know.
It, right? Yeah, like this is it. I think there definitely needs to be more inclusivity, and more just like people need to be more educated about what's out there and what's available for artists, because although there's limited stuff out there, there is stuff there, you know what I mean? You've just got to find it. So like for funding, there's various places, like, so there's PRS, there's Help Musicians, who do a fund called Do It Differently, that's up to £3,000, I think. There is, like you said, the Arts Council, who do developing your creative practice. PRS do a couple of different funds. So there are a few. It's just researching what one's right for you, and you know how to apply for it best. But also, I think a big part of getting people more educated is, you know, so we've got to take advantage of social media, which I think is happening more now.
Yeah.
I think, you know, more things like this conference, like the seminar I attended in lockdown, need to be available to people. You know, that seminar I found, I mean, it didn't just like, I was like searching for like things I could do to learn about music. So it wasn't just like, it didn't just pop up. Do you know what I mean? It's something, you need these things to kind of just pop up on social media and be like, oh, I might do that, because you kind of, sometimes you've got so much in your head that you don't think about like, well, maybe I should do this, maybe I should do that. But I think a massive part of, you know, getting out there as well is just networking and putting yourself in the right place at the right time, as opposed to, you know, trying to be in the right place at the right time. Just be everywhere, you know, and be everywhere.
Like literally that. Yeah. That's what I love that, because I literally try to do that all the time. If I hear something's going on, I'll make sure I'll be there, or, you know, meet that person. And sometimes you don't know what's going to come of it, but sometimes you might meet someone who in 6 months' time might be the person to hand you the opportunity you were actually looking for. But you would have never knew that if you never first took that first step to get yourself and put yourself out there and be like, hey, this is me, this is what I do. And it's just kind of, you know, testing all these waters, putting, you know, like trying every kind of as much things as you can. And there's something I love you said, Chloe, about, you know, educating yourself, because again, as I said earlier, we don't know what we don't know, but I think we have also responsibility as artists to try, because it's not enough anymore just to work on music. You kind of, you know, it's good to know, you know, what's going on with the business side of things. It's good to know about the legal side of things, and networking, as you're saying. I think that's a big thing, because that comes to the next point of like, you know, what do you reckon your view is? So say, for example, I was just starting out as an artist. Could I achieve what I wanted to achieve by myself, or like, because obviously my experience is definitely different to yours. I know, you know, you've got kind of a team and people you work with, and people who, you know, like, you know, people who produce your music and things like that. What's your view on someone who is just starting out? Can they make it alone, or what do they do?
I'd say yes and no. I don't have a manager or anything like that at the moment, but it is something I definitely need. Like I'd say, like, you're foolish to think you could do it all on your own. It's I'd love to think I could do it all on my own, but you just can't. There's so much to do. Like at the moment, me and my producer run the whole thing. So like, my producer's the other half of Chloe Castro. You know, we do the PR campaigns. He creates the artwork. He even edits the videos. Like, we do absolutely everything ourselves. But it doesn't give us that time we need to actually devote to our creative practice and like the actual music. Because at the end of the day, the most important thing is the music. And like, if you make good music and you do it well consistently, like you will get there. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you're good enough at what you do and you do it consistently, you will get there and people will find you. But I think having a solid team is so important, even if that is just you and your producer, like, or you and your mate or whatever. Like, it needs to be solid. Like, you need to be able to trust them. You need to be able to like rely on them, and you know, they need to believe in what you're doing. And that's so hard to find as well. You know, you don't just find someone who really wants to devote all their time to your music, because it costs money as well. So, you know, you have to learn to do it by yourself initially. Like you were saying, you need to learn to do your accounts, like I've been doing for this tax return. You know what I mean? You need to learn to do the bit of production, or, you know, you need to learn to do your songwriting, you need to learn social media, blah, 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 blah. But, you know, at the end of the day, you need to be able to focus on your music as well. So like, it's hard. It's really hard. You need to be able to do a bit of everything so that you can get yourself in a place where people will want to work with you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, you need to, like, labels and managers don't just come to you now. You've got to establish yourself, and then they kind of become interested when they see that there's money to be made, you know? So you've got to kind of learn the basics and get yourself established, and like make sure your bios are up to date, you know, all the basic stuff like that. Make sure your profiles are up to date, your profile pictures, everything like that. And like, so that managers and things like that can find you, and when they do find you, they're like, oh, she's ready, you know?
Yeah, because yeah, you're right. I think because it's almost like before you even get to that next step, you have to be already doing it. Like labels now, I think the days are past where, you know, labels would just like sign someone who's not done anything and they just got a good voice. I was with Keith Harris, who was Stevie Wonder's former manager just before Christmas. And he said something to me what really stuck in my head. He was just like, those times are gone. He was like, there's so many good people. It's like, it's not enough to be good anymore. He's like, you need to be exceptional. And he's like, but you need to also be doing something before these labels or managers come to you. Because as you just said it there, like they have to, because as well as, you know, being creative, and it's about the music and having this really amazing talent and great music. At the end of the day, there's also a business side of it. So when these managers come and they want to take you on, or these record companies who want to sign you, they have to see, okay, can this person make money? But before that, obviously, the art has to be top anyway. Exactly. So there's so many things you have to hit, because then again, it's not like just coming there with art which isn't good, and then they're not going to take, everything has to be ticked before someone actually thinks about taking you on. And it is, I think it's really difficult as artists when they're first starting out, when you just purely want to focus on the music side of things. And I think you're right, it's about finding that balance of, you know, learning about all these other things, but making music the main thing. And if you've got a mate who's kind of committed and sees the vision as well, you know, bringing them on board to kind of give them a little bit of jobs, which takes the time off you so you can focus on what you do. And I remember when I first started, I would literally do everything myself. I would, you know, obviously produce the music, record the music, mix and master the music. I'd bought myself a camera. I had to get a mate to shoot the video. Then I would edit all the videos. I would, you know, design my the CD covers. I would do my own, and it was too much.
It's not ideal.
Yeah, it's not ideal, and it's annoying that I had to do all that. And obviously, yeah, it did bring opportunities, but it's not sustainable for one person to, or even two people to be doing all those jobs. It's great to find people who are specialized in certain parts of the industry, and great for people who you mates or you know who are interested in getting into it. And if they can learn and you build like this solid team, which I feel it takes time to have like a really good team. But when you have that, it's great because everyone brings something to the table. Everyone knows their role in what they're doing. And I think, you know, obviously it was quite difficult for me in the beginning, and obviously now, you know, things are changing, and kind of from networking and doing shows and people kind of know more who I am. It's kind of an easier way to, like, for me to find if I want an opportunity or if I want to do something, I can speak to them, etc. But like, say for an artist who is trying to put themselves forward, how do you think that would, like, say for example, you're doing your show this Saturday on the 28th. Like, how did you get that gig? Like, how would an artist go about just booking a show? Like, how does that work?
It's difficult. I've been going for a long time now, and this is my first headline show, and I'm really buzzing about it. But I was actually approached by a promoter, the promoter who's doing it, and asked if I wanted to do a headline show. So that I think sometimes, like, you know, it's knowing people. It's like it's from networking. So go get yourself out and network. Like, so this promoter I knew from a different gig that I'd done for somebody else, like when I supported another act. So, you know, he knew who I was. But like I say, it's just getting yourself out there, like go and play it. Like, you don't want a headline show anyway if you're not going to be able to fill the venue. Yeah. I'm still worried I'm not going to be able to fill the venue. Like, it's a 60 cap. So we've sold nearly 40 tickets. So that's something. We're buzzing off that. But you know, you want to do gigs that are gonna, when you're starting out, and I'm looking for gigs now in London of this caliber, where you want to do gigs where people are already there for an event. They're already there. They're going to be there already to see other people, and you happen to fit into that night. So, you know, you want to find an event where there's a couple of artists playing and you fit in with that, and you can like basically get their audience, you know, so you can, and you just get in touch with promoters. This is what I've been doing the last week as well, because I'm desperate this year to get more gigs in London and stuff. So, I mean, again, I haven't heard anything back yet, but it's just getting out there and like getting your name in people's inboxes. And, you know, just trying to get out there and go into other people's gigs and meeting the promoters and things like that.
Yeah, definitely. And it comes back to that thing again of putting yourself out there, isn't it? Because I think, say, if I was just an artist starting now and then I wanted to headline a show at Borvix, it's just like, okay, well, how you know, I think it's better if you build something, you know, going to other people's shows, or if you can get support slots, or as you're saying, going to venues where people are already there. So it's like, okay, you have an audience, you have an opportunity to present your music and see it. Obviously, if they like it, they might come see you at other shows.
They might come to your headline when you do get a headline. Do you know what I mean? Yeah,
exactly. And I think you know, some artists who are coming up now, when I've spoke to them, they want this thing of this like quick success, and they think like, you know, we can make a track and then this track's gonna like blow up and then I'm gonna sell out like, it doesn't happen like that, does it? It's kind of a more of a slow,
unfortunately not.
Yeah. And even you know, I was doing a research on kind of a lot of artists who blew up in the past, and if people who have never heard about them, we always think like it's this quick success, but we don't know they've been doing it for years. Like I remember watching an interview on people like Stormzy, when he made Where Do You Know Me From? And obviously he had blown at this point, but people didn't know he'd been doing music for 10 years before he actually even got to that point. But it made it look like Stormzy was this guy who just came out from London.
Exactly.
But he'd been doing music for 10 years before even anything even happened. And I think we have to be honest as artists and look at our career in a way of like, okay, do we love what we're doing? If we love what we're doing, great, you know, do it for the right reasons, because something's going to happen. You can't consistently do something for nothing not to happen in the future. And I'm sure, like, correct me if I'm wrong, like say the position you're at now, Chloe, like you weren't there 5 years ago, but it's harder to see in the future, but it's easier to get to this place and then look back and see how far you come by your consistent work, by the networking, by the, you know, the hardships and just still pushing through. But I feel like you wouldn't have kept going if you never had this belief and love for music. If you were doing it for the wrong reasons, how would you have got to where you want now?
That's it. If you want to do it, if you want to do music, that is exactly what I would say to like to what's the word? To close it off, I would say that like if you are definitely passionate about music and it's definitely what you want to do, then just, you know, give it your all, and like don't just like don't half-heart do it, like, because you won't do it half-heartedly. You've got to give it everything, I think. And you know, get registered with PRS, go networking, and you know, like, look after your mental health. They're my main things. And you know, learn, you know, even on YouTube you can find videos where you can get like a nice guy who will talk you through the best way to release your music in this year. There's a guy called Adam Ivy, and also a guy called Damien Keys, who I like to watch on YouTube, who gives some good advice about releasing music and stuff.
Yeah, so yeah, educate yourself, work hard, do it for the right reasons, put yourself out there. And I think, you know, if you love it, the main thing I would say is just don't give up, because everyone's journey is different. Sometimes I feel, you know, when we see people in certain positions, but we don't know what it took for them to get there, or the type of work or the hardships they had. Our journey is very different. You know, someone else's success might not be when your success is going to happen. Yours will happen at a totally different time. But as long as we keep those key things, as in like, you know, working hard, networking, do it for the right reasons, educate yourself, put yourself out there, and just don't give up, then your time is going to come when it's your time. That's what I would say anyway.
And enjoy it.
Yeah.
You know? don't make it become a chore. You know, if it becomes a chore, it's no good. You've got to remember why you got into it, which is, you know, because you love it. So, but
yeah, great.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, and I hope this has been very helpful.
I hope it's been helpful in some way. Definitely, my main point is register with PRS and you know, network.
Great. Right. Take care, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.